At the forgotten edges of the galaxy, where the light of civilization fades and the silence of space reigns, the whispers persist, a warning, a legend, a chill in the void that never truly disappears. These are not mere stories, but echoes that drift through the cosmic dark, carried on solar winds and the static between stars. They are the galaxy's oldest secret, a tale passed from one generation of explorers to the next, always in hushed tones. The whispers speak of a species so paradoxical, so chaotic in their very nature, that even the oldest and wisest races, those who shaped the stars and mapped the void, were forced to act. They gathered in secret, forging uneasy alliances, and together they sealed these beings away, not out of hatred, but out of a desperate hope to preserve the fragile order of the cosmos. These were not conquerors nor destroyers in the traditional sense. Instead, they were entities who bent the very laws of reality, thriving on paradox and contradiction. Their existence was a riddle, their motives unknowable, their actions unpredictable. To them, logic was a toy, and the fabric of space and time merely a canvas for their impossible designs. To engage with them, the whispers say, is to invite madness and entropy. Minds unravel, order collapses, and the boundaries between what is real and what is imagined blur until nothing is certain. Even the bravest souls who sought to understand them return changed, haunted by visions of impossible worlds. In the end, the soul system was quarantined, not as a prison for the dangerous, but as a shield for the innocent. The barrier was a silent promise that the rest of the galaxy would be spared from the chaos within, even if it meant sacrificing a world to eternal isolation. The barrier was absolute, a shimmering testament to the one problem 100 civilizations could not solve. It stood as a monument to fear, ingenuity, and the limits of even the greatest minds. For centuries it held firm, unbroken, and unyielding. Yet in recent cycles the whispers have grown louder, more insistent. The old tales, once dismissed as superstition, now feel more like prophecy. Energy readings spike, and ancient texts glow with warnings that no one can decipher. Something stirs in the forbidden sector, a presence that sends ripples through the fabric of the galaxy. The fragile peace that has lasted for millennia now trembles, as councils convene in fear and astronomers watch the stars with growing dread. Now the whispers ask a new question, one that chills even the bravest hearts. What if the only thing that can stop a nightmare is an even greater one? What if the galaxy's salvation lies in the very force it once feared most? The legend waits, restless in the void, its presence a shadow on the edge of every mind, a promise that the story is far from over. At your face. The legend's name is Fofanonian Whispers. The first wise architects of the quarantine described them as fragiles, short-lived, yet terrifyingly resilient. Their history was chaos, wars, contradictions, and relentless adaptation. The quarantine was not punishment, but desperate self-preservation. For 10,000 years the solar system was silent, the legend fading into myth. The galaxy prospered, believing all threats could be understood or overcome. But a new, illogical threat emerged, one that consumed technology and defied reason. The peace was shattered. The only hope was the legend the galaxy feared most. The Council faced a choice: awaken the myths or face extinction. Humanity's silence was about to end. It began as a shadow in the void, an absence so profound that even the oldest astronomers could not explain it. At first, it was just a whisper in the darkness, a subtle distortion in the fabric of space, easily dismissed as a trick of cosmic dust or a sensor malfunction. But soon the shadow grew, spreading across the stars like a silent plague. The phage, a relentless swarm of nanoscopic machines, moved with purpose, erasing existence itself. They were not a force of nature nor a civilization seeking conquest. They were something far worse, a hunger that could not be reasoned with, a void that devoured all, not conquerors but erasers, planets, stars, entire civilizations vanished before them. Their histories and memories wiped clean. The phage left nothing behind but silence and darkness, a as if their victims had never existed at all. The Andromeda Galaxy, once vibrant and teeming with life, fell silent in less than a century. Its light faded, its worlds lost, and as the last signals died, the Phage turned their attention toward us, toward the Milky Way. Every defense we built, every weapon we unleashed failed. The Phage adapted to every strategy, every desperate measure. Our greatest minds could only watch as the swarm advanced, unstoppable and cold. Despair gripped the Council. Hope faded as the swarm advanced. The brightest leaders of 100 worlds gathered, but their faces were etched with fear and defeat. The end seemed inevitable. Then, the archivist of the First Ones, keeper of forbidden knowledge, proposed the unthinkable. Lower the quarantine and release the one force the galaxy had sealed away for eons. The ancient symbol for Earth appeared, glowing with urgency. A desperate last resort, a reminder of a power both feared and forgotten. To unleash humanity was to gamble with chaos itself. Their history was one of brilliance and destruction, of hope and horror. No one could predict what would happen if they were set free. The chamber fell silent, horror and hope mingling in equal measure. The fate of the galaxy now hung on a single impossible decision. The galaxy's fate would rest with the one race it had tried to forget. The unpredictable, dangerous, and extraordinary children of Earth. The game with no rules was about to begin, and no one could foresee how it would end. Oh. Desperation broke the seal, the Sol system opened. The galaxy had always whispered about the Terrans, some called them myth, others a warning. Now with the threat looming, the Council had no choice but to reach out to the one system everyone feared to disturb. The Council's delegation sent a plea for help, bracing for fear or aggression. Their message was formal, voices trembling as they described the threat. They expected cold calculation, perhaps even hostility, from the infamous humans. Instead, they received chaos, a burst of radio waves, commercials, and a tired voice. The transmission was a jumble of static music and what sounded like a weather report, as if the apocalypse was just another item on the daily news. Admiral Eva Rostova appeared, casual and amused. "Big bad bugs, huh? Took you long enough, we'll handle it." Her tone was light, almost playful, as if she'd been waiting for this call all along. The humans were unfazed, treating apocalypse like an inconvenience. Their crew lounged at their stations, sipping coffee, barely glancing at the alarms flashing around them. Their confidence was unsettling, a species that had seen worse. There was a weight behind their calm, the kind that comes from surviving countless disasters and emerging stronger each time. Jokes, arguments, and irreverence filled their broadcast. The crew traded quips about the incoming threat, some even placing bets on how quickly they'd resolve it. The galaxy watched in disbelief. The legend was real, and it was nothing like the stories. Instead of monsters, they saw people who laughed in the face of doom. The humans prepared not with solemnity, but with a shrug and a wink. Their readiness was effortless, as if they'd done this 1,000 times before. The end of the world to them was just another Tuesday. The galaxy's terror deepened, but for the Terrans it was simply business as usual, a testament to a species that refused to be afraid. The human fleet was a relic, brutalist metal, graffiti, and ancient tech. While others wielded living crystal and black holes, humans brought fusion engines and projectile weapons. Their crews were loud, undisciplined, and shockingly confident. Pre-battle comms were filled with bravado and trash talk. Admiral Rostova's plan used only the oldest, most analog tech, no digital, no energy weapons. "Let's see them adapt to a well-aimed rock," she joked. The Council was aghast. It was madness. Humans loaded kinetic rods and nuclear warheads onto ships with names like Kick Me. As the Phage blotted out the sky, Rostova sent a final message, heavy metal music. The galaxy braced for disaster, or a miracle. The last hope was also the most unpredictable. The battle began with a roar of chemical propellants, not energy. Human ships charged, firing metal slugs and nuclear warheads. The Phage, unprepared for such primitive brutality, faltered. Humans switched tactics constantly, exploiting every weakness. The The swarm struggled to adapt to chaos and analog warfare. Human pilots fought with reckless abandon, turning the battle into a game. Losses mounted, but they pressed on, never retreating. The phage, used to logic, couldn't process the mountains. The galaxy watched transfixed as humans traded lives for progress. It was a war of attrition, fought by those with nothing left to lose. The impossible was happening. The battered human fleet reached the phage core, a singularity the swarm's mind. Out of options, Admiral Rustova gave the final order: activate the Echo Drive. The Council had never heard of it. The humans began to reconfigure their ships. They weren't preparing to fire, but to listen. Every attack had been a data packet, a piece of malicious code. The phage, in adapting, had consumed their own doom. The Echo Drive sent a single resonance pulse, the trigger. Instantly the phage turned on themselves, their adaptation becoming self-destruction. The singularity collapsed. The swarm erased in a flash of annihilating light. The terror of Andromeda was gone, undone by its own strength. Humanity had weaponized chaos itself. The galaxy was saved at a cost. Silence followed the phage's end, but relief gave way to a deeper fear. Humans had outsmarted the undefeatable weaponizing adaptation itself. Their creativity and destruction was more terrifying than their chaos. The survivors returned home, mourning their dead with quiet resolve. Admiral Rustova's final message: job's done, the bill's in the mail, leave the door unlocked. The Council realized the true reason for the quarantine: not destruction, but creative unpredictability. The whispers in the void changed. No longer warnings, but awe and dread. The legend was now reality, raw, imprisoned. The galaxy played by the rules. Humans saw rules as a starting point. The universe would never be the same. After the crisis, a nervous peace settled. Eyes always on Sol. Humans joined the Council, their casualness unsettling all. They explored with reckless curiosity, asking forbidden questions. The galaxy had unleashed a force it could never contain again. Then came Cygnus X1, a human research ship. The y6t set out to poke it with a stick. The scientific community pleaded for restraint. The humans shrugged. The last transmission: Eureka, it's a doorway, we've turned it inside out. Cygnus X1 began to break the laws of physics. Humanity didn't just survive nightmares, they made them interesting. The greatest danger isn't the monster you know, but the hero who sees a nightmare and thinks this looks like fun. If you enjoyed this journey through the galaxy, don't forget to subscribe and share for more cosmic mysteries.